The first thing we want to make sure of is what a function represents on a graph. And anytime you try a vertical line test on a function and it only goes through one point on the graph, it will be considered a function. So in order for this to be a function, it must pass the vertical line test. In this case, the one on the left only goes through one time, so it is a function, but the one on the right goes through two times, so it is not a function. Let's go ahead and take, so here are two examples. Again, we're just looking for the vertical line test. I can do the vertical line test anywhere, but you might have to do it more than a few times. And notice I have a few points where it's going through more than two times. So letter A would not be a function. But for letter B, if I do the vertical line test, all of my points are only going through exactly one time each time I do it. So for letter B, this would be a function. Okay? So number 2 is a function because it passes the vertical line test. Number 3 is also a function because it also passes the vertical line test. Number 4 is not a function because when you do your vertical line test, there are two or more points that it passes through. And number 5 is also considered a function because it can pass the vertical line test. Okay? What we'll talk about is what the difference is of domain and range. So domain is always going to be considered the input values. These are always going to be your x coordinates, and the range is always going to be your output values, which will always be your y coordinates. Instead of -2, this is your domain. The function would be negative, or y is equal to 3 times x, so you would do 3 times -2 and you get -6, and then you're left with the range or the y. Okay, all right, so here are a few examples. It says find the domain and the range of the function represented by the graph. Remember, domain is x and range is y, so you're essentially just finding the x and the y. So domain and range. All right, so in this one, there are only a few certain dots that we're going to use. So the domains we're going to use, remember, on the x-axis. So I see a -3 right here. I see a -1. I also see a +1 here. And I also see a +3. Okay, for the range, you're just going to focus on the y values. So the range, we have a -2, a 0, a +2, and then we also have a 4. Okay, so those